What's up, good people of YouTube? This is Noob Mechanic. Today I'm going to show you how to make a center console. Now this is my 2003 Crown Victoria Police Interceptor, but this is going to apply to pretty much any car out there. This was under a $40 build, and hopefully I can show you how to go from something like this to something like this. Stick around, I'll show you how to get it done. One of the first things that you want to do when you get everything ripped out is create a template. This is a very basic template. It's held together with cardboard and tape, but this allows you to see where everything's going to lay. It allows you to get the exact cutout of where things are going to be. It allows you to test it as far as the height of the center console, the length of the center console, where you want the flip up lid and stuff like that. But most importantly, it allows you to visually see what everything's going to look like. I'll show you how to make one of these. So we're going to start by just removing the old center console. I have a bolt here on this side and a bolt on the other side, and this should just lift away. Now for those of you that don't have a center console, you're going to have to measure the size of your base. I have the luxury of actually already having a console, so I'm going to use that as a template. You'll also notice that under here, once I get this lifted up, you'll see that I have a plate there, and that's how everything was bolted down before. I'm going to keep that plate there. That's actually how I'm going to mount up my new center console. It should work out perfectly, and just drill a couple of holes, bolt it in, and it shouldn't move. Let's go ahead and get started. So for those of you that don't have a console to trace the dimensions out of, you just want to get some basic measurements. You want to know how wide you want it to be, so measure the inside of the seat to the inside of the seat like that. Write down the number, and then you just want to figure out how long you want it to be. So run your tape measure all the way up as far as it'll go, or to wherever you want it, and how far back you want it, and just take down a measurement, write it down. Now that we have it cut out, we're going to take it to the car to test fit it just to make sure it fits properly. You always want to test fit everything that you cut out. It fits really good in here. I do notice that the back end needs to be a little bit longer. So what we're going to do is just take it back to the table, pull out some tape, and we're going to tape some more on the back. Now that we have this taped up, we're going to take it for another test fit and move on. So the base seems to fit just fine, so we're going to work on the sides. You need a piece of cardboard big enough and long enough to match basically the base. All I'm working on is I'm starting from the bottom and working up, and I'm just trying to get all the shapes to match properly. So I'm cutting several times, putting it back up there, just until everything lines up properly. Once I get that bottom part good, I'll move up a little bit higher right here, and you'll see that this comes out a little too far. So I'm marking it to cut it off. You'll also notice up a little bit higher right up here, I have a cup holder, so I'm going to be chopping that right there. I want to give you a little tip too, because mistakes can be made. What I like to do is cut out a bunch of small strips, lay some tape across them, and I'll kind of give you an example of how those work. So let's say you made a template, and that template was wrong, and you don't have to recut an entire thing. So for example, you got a little gap there. What you can always do is lay this right here to where the gap is now fixed. So you can take this strip tape and you can put it at any angle you want to. Tape it to the actual template, and you've now fixed that gap. When you take the template out, wrap this tape around, and now you have a new template. And this template is really only going to be used for tracing onto the wood. So if you make any kind of mistakes, or if there's any gaps that you need to fill, use these little tape strips or cardboard strips with tape on them to fill in any kind of gaps. So when you trace it, it'll actually have the right shape. Now that we have the shape that we want for the side, I know the other side is going to be pretty much the exact same shape, so we're just going to put it on top of another piece of cardboard, trace it, and cut it out. And we're going to take the base, take the sides, line everything up, and we're going to tape it all the way down. We'll stand them up, tape them together. So these supports that you see on the inside and on that top, they're the same width as the base, and I just cut them to size for the height. So we have a template made. It's not beautiful or anything, but it now shows us the shape of everything and how it's going to be. Put some little structural cardboard in the center so it holds all together. Typically what I do for something like this is, even though there is two sides that I can trace, I'll usually just pick one side and double it up and trace it so they're identical. The bottom, I'll take a measurement and usually just measure that out, cut it, and then I'll start getting everything together, seeing how it fits together. Keep in mind that wood does have a thickness to it, so when you're measuring, make sure you're taking that into account. Since this wood is going to be maybe a 1/4 inch, that means I need to subtract a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch on each side when I'm buttoning it all together. Alright, we got the template apart now. So this is our side piece, that's our bottom piece, and those are the two most important pieces. We're going to double up this side, trace it twice, cut it out, cut the bottom out once. Now it's time to trace it out on a piece of wood. You'll notice that I have little gaps everywhere, but the important thing is that I have all straight lines. You'll notice down there I'm going to cut it straight. Right here I'm cutting it straight across. And I want to do a rounded edge, so I'm just going to use whatever object I have that's round that off. And you'll notice right here where I'm straightening it, you'll see that the line that was on there was very crooked, and I'm just correcting it with a straight line. That was just my error when I cut it out. It's very important. It's a straight line for me. It makes it easier. Now that you have the template cut out in wood, you want to check to make sure it fits. Always, always, always check to make sure things fit after you cut them. You'll notice down here, it's a tight fit. I'm actually probably going to trim that back a little bit because I have to make room for fabric and stuff like that. So I'm going to probably trim it back 1/8 of an inch or so. Other than that, that's how it looks. And you don't want to just test one side. Move it over. Make sure it fits on both sides because you're going to be doubling up that template. And it looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it fits just fine. So I'm going to cut out another one of these. Then we cut the base. And we're going to be on our way. As always, you want to do another test fit. Once again, test fit after everything that you cut, everything that you screw together, test fit. Make sure it doesn't get out of whack. I like the way this looks so far. I went ahead and measured the gap. It's roughly about 7 1/8. You can see that I've already measured it over here to 7 1/8, so I'm going to cut that strip out. Also, what I do is whatever length that I need normally, I add usually about an extra foot onto it, or whatever I got left of this board, because that's actually going to be the supports for the inside, and we want them to the same width. Another little tip is, since I ended up using 1/2 inch plywood, I made a 1/2 inch mark all the way down the bottom, so when I do my pre-drilling, I can hit dead center. Just make sure you pre-drill everything I would suggest gluing and screwing everything together, and I'm also going to countersink all my holes so they don't poke out. All right, we got it all put together now. And we're going to do another test fit just to make sure everything fits fine, and then we're going to start putting in support on the inside. After that, we get to figure out the layout of where we want the cup holders and where we want the console lid to open. All right, we got it laid out. I like the way it looks. It had some strange fitment issues up here, so I lopped off a little bit off the top, but that's just kind of the things that you got to do when you're doing the test fitting. That's why it's always super important to do the test fitting. Also, I checked in the back here. It definitely comes out more than I want. But what I think I'm going to do instead is actually turn that into cup holders. So I think I'm going to chop that back a little bit and make it into a small little cup holder for the back seat. Now we're going to go ahead and cut the supports. So these need to be the same width as your base. So cut them exactly the same width as your base. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of them here. So I'm going to probably put one right there. I'll probably put one at the end right here because this is going to be a little cup holder that I'm making. I'm going to leave this open because this is where I want to be able to keep stuff. So I'll probably have one right here. And then probably put maybe one, maybe two right there. And this just kind of hold it all together, but also to separate the compartments. I'll probably be putting some cup holders right here and maybe some 12-volt chargers or some USBs right there. We'll do the layout next. So I got the basic box made at this point. Little spot right here for the cup holders. This is going to be a lid storage area, and this is where the front seat cup holders are going to be, along with maybe some 12-volt sockets, like cigarette sockets, and then maybe some USBs up here. We'll get all that figured out here in a little bit, but that is the box. Now we're ready to start doing the top. Kind of wanted to show my progress real quick and give you kind of some tips on this here. So if you look at the profile, it's a rounded profile, and that's kind of hard to get wood to do that. So I was taking apart an armchair one day and realized this is what they do. So they put little blocks of wood just to give it some sturdiness right there, and then they'll usually take like a very thin piece of wood that's almost like strong cardboard and round the edges and staple it. I'm just going to use cardboard. Hopefully I can find a thick enough piece so it matches up, but we're going to do cardboard over this just to about right there, staple it down, and then I'm going to do wood the rest of the way. So that's what it looks like. It's not great, but when you put the foam on it, like the padding on it, before you wrap it, you're not even going to notice it. I wouldn't even worry about this lip either. Just, the padding is going to cover up a lot of your mistakes. That's actually 2 layers of cardboard. So I put cardboard over it, stapled, put this back over it, and stapled some more. So I got the cup figured out. I didn't have enough room but to put 2. So I put 1 cup. Basically what you're doing is you're cutting out the circle, leaving enough for this little ledge. I made the top for here. And I just found some hinges in the garage off of another build. Once this gets all covered up, it's going to look nice. Well, at least I hope it does. I marked the center line here, so what I think I'm going to do is do a cup holder here, and then I'm going to have some USBs right here. Now that I have everything laid out, I know exactly where everything's going to be. I can start cutting out the USBs and the cup holders. I think I'm going to reshape the lid top. And this is, you can see it from the back here where I put the little cup holder, but it's ready for its final fit and the vinyl on it. I just wanted to show y'all what I was doing for sewing. You're basically just tracing it out, leaving, I think it's an 1/8 or a 1/4 inch seam allowance for when you sew it. And I'm not the best sewers. This didn't come out as good as I wanted to, so I linked to a video where I show you how to do a no-sew option. Now, if you do plan on sewing it, I would highly suggest that you get yourself a heavy-duty sewing machine, because this will actually go through thick fabric. I don't think your grandmother's sewing machine is going to do it. It might, but pick yourself up a leather needle just like this if you're going to do it the right way. And for me, I just watched a ton of YouTube videos and tried to figure it out. This is the second time I've tried sewing something, and it didn't come out great, but it's not bad. Well, this is the cover that I sewed up. It's not perfect by any means, but it's going to work for me. I am going to link, or put a link to in the description down below that's going to link to one of my other videos that shows you a no-sew option. And if you want a little bit more information about the sewing, I also have another video where I think I show a little bit more information on the sewing itself, but let's see what it looks like. It's going to have to be stretched and stapled, and I still got to cover with some padding that I have. It should look alright. There's a couple of spots that I actually goofed up on and ripped it, so I'm gonna sew like a strap that'll strap around here to there, just give it some more depth, but you won't, it's gonna make it look a little bit better. We'll see how that goes. Well, I got it all stretched out and stapled up, and it actually doesn't look bad at all. You see some of the staples, and that's kind of a bummer, but you can see the strap hid a lot of my mistakes, and I do like the way it looks. I just gotta finish cutting out the holes for the cup holders and the sockets, and I'm good. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it. This is my third console that I've built, so I'm still kind of learning at it. And, the sewing machine messed up on me halfway into it, but I got it all put together. If you check the description, I did put links to my other two videos. One where I sew one, and one where there's a no-sew option. That way, you can put it together if you don't want to have to sew something. This was a budget build, so I wasn't above, I want to say it was $40 or so. It was $10 for the cup holders. I think $10 for the USB and the 12-volt socket. The wood that I used was spare wood that I tore down from an old couch, and most of the vinyl was actually from an old couch. The blue vinyl that you see on the side, I spent $10 at the local fabric store to buy that. So this is about a $30 build, maybe a $35 build. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I do ask that you subscribe to the channel and like the video if you liked it. I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's day. Y'all keep on wrenching.